Hey guys, welcome to a brand new video. Today what I have for you is one of my probably favorite decks that I've made recently that I didn't think would actually do well. The Sylveon kind of mill control kind of deck. This deck's very different as it's not very expensive. The only really expensive card is probably the ends and maybe a Sylveon, not really. It's a pretty cheap deck, so like generally anyone can make it. Doesn't run Lele's, runs only 2 DCs, doesn't need like Ultra Balls, they're not really expensive, but mainly it doesn't run Lele's. The deck that doesn't need Lele's, it's cheap. The whole premise of the deck is basically you want to get your Sylveon out as quickly as you can. You just Magical Ribbon, Energy Evolution to Sylveon, Magical Ribbon, where you search your deck for up to 3 cards. Any card, you don't have to reveal them, you put them in your hand. Pretty simple attack. It's really good because you can get 3 cards, just like whatever you want, into your hand. I run few supports with it. I run a 1/1 line of Gumshoos. Gumshoos' ability is search the premises. I really like this ability. I wish I could fit it into more decks because it's a really strong ability. It does really well against, say, Gardevoir, Volcanion decks that run a lot of energy in their deck. So you could look at their hand, you team Skullgrunt. It's pretty easy, it's really good. But for decks where you don't really want to do that, more often than not, you're going to want a Garbatoxin. You whip out the Garbodor, Garbatoxin's abilities. If this Pokemon has a tool attached to it, no Pokemon has any abilities whatsoever. But when you just attach Floatstone to it, evolve it, and no abilities. I don't need abilities, I just don't put the Gumshoos down, I just run the Sylveon. So I have pretty small line of Pokemon, only 6 basics, so you're gonna mulligan quite a bit. That's fine, because you're probably gonna end or something turn 1. Supporter line, it's a really heavy supporter line, because you need the supporters that discard cards, and mill, and all that fun stuff. So only run 2 Sycamores. You don't really want to discard cards as often as you can. The only time you ever want to put cards into your discard is if you use them. You don't want to discard your whole hand except for maybe in the early game. That's why I only run 2. There are 4 ends. Ends are like crucial in this for just disrupting your opponent. Honestly, I'd consider even putting in a couple judges, maybe 2. Who knows? I haven't really tested it with judges yet. But 4 ends, you need them. That's the only thing you absolutely have to have. There's Team Rocket's Handiwork. Usually I like to run 2 or 3. I decided to run 3, just quicker milling basically. I'd find myself in the late game not being able to finish off my opponent and them becoming really close to beating me. So running it at the extra 1 just helps against that. I used to run 3 Team Skullgrunts, I cut 1 for the Handiwork. Running 3 is just not very practical. 2 I think is a lot better because more often you're gonna Team Flare Grunt something than you are gonna Team Skullgrunt. Where Team Skullgrunt, if you didn't know, you reveal your hand, your opponent reveals their hand, you discard 2 energy from it. So it synergizes really well with Gumshoos, where you can look at their hand preemptively, and if they have energy, then you play Team Skullgrunt. If they don't, you play a Team Flare Grunt and discard something on your opponent's active Pokemon. So 2 cards, very good, work differently. I really like them. But yeah, that's what the Gumshoos is for, is the Team Skullgrunt, as well as the Delinquent, which is a card that doesn't see very much play anymore. Where you discard any stadium card in play, and if you do, your opponent discards 3 cards from their hand. If your opponent has 3 cards in their hand, you look at their hand, you're like, oh hey, those are good cards. Delinquent, they discard 3 cards. Those are cards they're not going to get back. Acerola, another really good card. Only ran 1, where you put any Pokemon with damage counters back into your hand. Only ever really needed 1. I'd only really ever pull up maybe like a Gumshoos that they'd try to Guzma stall me, or even a Sylveon that doesn't have an energy with too much damage on it. I just want to heal it, reattach, do all that fun stuff. Yeah, only 1 Acerola, 1 Guzma, just so I could potentially Guzma stall it, and I pull up something with like a 3 retreat cost, and they can't do anything, right? Very good card. Only need 1. You're not going to do it that often. More often than not, you're going to want your supporter to be a Flare Grunt, or a Team Skullgrunt, or a Handiwork. Those are your ideal supporters for the turn. For items, I run 2 Field Blowers. You just want to get rid of those choice bands, float stones, anything else can really stay, like whatever. If they have more health, who cares? Not really a damage dealing deck. I got Super Rod. It helps me stabilize, if I have to discard Sylveons or something early on. If something gets knocked out, I can just cycle them back. It adds 3 more cards to my deck. It's really good. I'd honestly consider running 2, but that's honestly a personal preference. I run 3 Max Potion. Sylveon only takes 1 energy, so you Max Potion reattach, and you haven't lost anything except healing a bunch, right? It was like 200 HP. It's not gonna die in one shot to anything other than maybe a Metagross. 4 Crushing Hammer. You want that energy disruption that isn't in it, a supporter form every turn. Crushing Hammer is perfect for that. It's a flip effect, but it's a really good flip effect if you land it. I'm not a lucky person, so I don't land them. I always flip 3s apparently. But for other people, 100% you need 4. Enhanced Hammer. That's an item card that I know a lot of people don't like in this deck. Like one of my friends plays this online. He says he doesn't like the Enhanced Hammer. I disagree. I think there's too many decks going around that run Rainbow or DCE, especially with counter energy coming up and all that fun stuff. 2 Enhanced Hammer you have to have. Just plopping a DCE away or a Rainbow, Glispods, all the popular decks run special energy. All the decks you're going to want to beat run special energy. You're going to want the 2E hammers. Puzzles of Time. Super good card, especially Sylveon. Sylveon lets you search your deck for 3 cards again. So you take 2 puzzles, or 1 puzzle if you already have one, and 2 other cards. Puzzle of Time has a very unique effect, where if you play 2 of them at the same time, it gives you a bonus effect. So if you play 1, you get to look at the top 3 cards of your deck and put them back in any order. But if you played 2, you have to put 2 cards from your discard pile into your hand. So it's similar to like a VS Seeker, except VS Seeker for anything. Very good card, lots of fun, really enjoy it. I wish it was a lot more consistent, or there was a way to make it more consistent, because I'd probably run it in most of my decks now. Like, with the loss of VS Seeker, if you could get Puzzle of Time off consistently, you'd just be so far ahead of, like, everyone else. Energy cards, or no, sorry, I run 3 Float Stones. Got the Garbatoxin. I'm gonna have to, attach the Float Stone to the Garbodor. Need something to attach. Just for treating Sylveon's Gumshoes, it's really good. Good card. Only 2 DCEs. The only reason I run DCE is for Plea GX, which is Sylveon's GX attack. You put 2 of your opponent's bench Pokemon, and all cards attach them into your opponent's hand. Excuse me. So basically you just sap something. If you're playing against Gardevoir, you play 2 Gardevoirs up. They have to revolve them. Especially if they're evolved with Rare Candy or something like that. Plea is devastating. Sorry about that. Yeah, Plea is just so good. And paired with the Stadium or Parallel City, you can parallel them down to 3 Pokemon, and you Plea them down to 1. You just destroy their bench. I know Guardy players run it. I think it's obviously you have to run it in this deck. It's so good. The other side of it is irrelevant. Your fire, or you could use it even against fire. I found myself using it against fire, actually, where fire, grass, and water Pokemon do 20 less damage, but my side would only be able to have 3 bench Pokemon. So it's basically matchup dependent. If you want to sap things or if you want to protect your guy, it's really good stadium. It's a pretty decent stadium. And then finally, 8 Fairy Energy. Don't need much, don't need too little. 8's a good round number. Gets the job done. You just need the 1 energy for the energy evolution on the Eevee, and you search out a Sylveon, then you Magical Ribbon. And then you just keep going. If your opponent ends you 4 turns in a row on the first game, the first 4 turns, it's not even that bad, because then they don't have any more ends. So then you just have the whole game to just run away with it, right? And even late game where your opponent's running out of cards, they can't shuffle anything back, because no one runs Shauna. So if they don't let you have the Magical Ribbon, then they're just hurting themselves. Also you, but you're probably going to draw into one of these fine supporters. So yeah, that's this deck. I find it really consistent. Honestly, if you don't like the Gumshoes, you could cut the Gumshoes, put a 2/2 Garbatoxin or whatever you like. You could throw in a Lele if you really wanted to. You could maybe. but the whole point of Magical Ribbon is to get what you want. And Lele is basically Magical Ribbon at this point, in this deck at least. So, you know, it's all personal preference. It's a fun deck. It's pretty good. It could always use improvement, you know. But as of right now, this is a pre-Crimson Invasion list. So with Crimson Invasion out, I'd probably include a Lusamine. Maybe even a Counter Catcher, because you're probably going to be down prizes. Opponents, because I don't really take prizes too much. Counter Catcher maybe probably a Lusamine. A Gladion could maybe even help, you know, if like a, I don't know, say Puzzle Time is prize, it's Gladion for Puzzle Time. Whatever you need, right? It's two pretty good cards I'd maybe include, maybe not. I'd have to do some testing with it. But yeah, that's this deck. Thank you guys, as always, for watching. I really appreciate it. If you'd like to see any more deck checks, or any specific decks in general, you know, you can just tweet it at me, even though I'm not very active on that Twitter account. You just put it in the comments. I'll guaranteed see it in the comments. But yeah, if you guys play it, let me know how it does. If it's terrible, to let me know. Maybe I'll make another one fixing it. If you have any suggestions, again, just let me know. Thanks guys for watching, and have a good day.